Today is May 10th, 2023. I made a mistake yesterday on the date. It was May 9th. When I uploaded the It's a Fraudski. He punked everybody. You never remember that old show where they'd set things up in a big scam and people fall for it and they say, "You've been punked." This is what retired Judge Pete. Do you realize yesterday was the 9th and I was in Target in Belden with my one client? And before that, we were in Belden Village, and they have sunk so low that they're either some rich guy's little diva princess bitches that have to dress super skanky, or they're prostitutes. They have the shorts on that are no bigger than your underwear, little nothing tops, and sandals, and they're walking around. Will had me get the truth out of him. Well, he's not FBI, who you're talking about, because he wouldn't use something like you. And there's more of them, and they're saying, "Don't say anything, we see her today." They're scaring me. They're prostitutes. It's a human trafficking scam. And drug traders, human trafficking people. They're prostitutes. They're so low, they had the prostitutes come out to harass me. Because the drug dealers and drug traders are in jail. A lot of them. The sheriffs and the marshals used the KSET agent, open like that one guy that I went out to eat with on January 20th. The 2.5 hours away, the police are using that KSET agent open with you. Your case, and they're going to be using the guy. They knew about the Texas group, and I said, "Oh, the Kingsmen, is that what they call themselves?" There was a Texas judge and retired one in this big human trafficking scam, and they're going to use that Casey Open to get these people. And then he said something about another judge in another state involved, and they're getting ready to take it. 3 weeks later, the sheriffs and the marshals arrested 800 people. Do you realize? Then I went to Target with my client, okay? They're saying, well, they were given special permission. Judge Pete does not have, well, he may have a little tutu. Little ballerina tutu and a magic wand that he's Tinkerbell. And he uses Peter Pan, and they fly off to Neverland with his special permission. He's got what? He's got his little magic wand. And he's Tinkerbell, and he flies off with Peter Pan. Neverland. Doing some kind of drugs? Smoking some kind of something make you a little bit cray-cray? You don't get special permission. You get court orders, honey. And then they're like, oh, and this girl was stalking me. You know how I told you they used to chase people off for stalking me in Walmart? This woman was stalking me and my client. Walking around watching us. And she's at the end of the shoe aisle. She's on the phone with one of those idiots that work for Michelle, retired Judge Pete's daughter. There's a Keith and a Ken. And she said one of those two names. And she's like, "No, I won't say that to her. That's embarrassing. Oh, my goodness, that would be too horrible. I can't say that." And I already could tell the way she was dressed. She's an older bimbette. Or a little ho-ho. I could already tell. The way she's standing, and she's stalking me through the store. I reported it to the sheriffs to pull their tapes. And she'll be at the end of the shoe aisle on a phone. And more likely they have tape and audio. Okay? And she says that guy's name. Well, we all know, and she's talking about the tape. Well, I can't say it because we all know Karen's Will taped her before. Blah, 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 blah. Really? Because you know what? Dave told Danny April 15, 16 of 23 that it was only some guy named Pete on his own he hired. And he was the only one in there. And he was the only one taping me unaware, and he was the one doing all those things to me, the drugs, the beating, the rape, leaving me infected. So that's where I tell you, retired Judge Pete tries to claim he's Karen's will. And yeah, so he's punking everybody. He punked everybody to help out in this. Ran a big scam down here. Where the hell did that agent go? See, the whole thing of it is, he punked Dave, actually, if you want to put it this way. He punked Dave that he would actually have the right to be in my home. You have a Fourth Amendment, the right to be safe and secure in your own home. No searches, no seizures without probable cause, warranted with an oath or affirmation. Just for a search warrant, they have to have a court order that a judge would actually sign with a real probable cause to break the right to privacy. And then they have to give you Miranda rights and tell you while you're there so you can shut up and lawyer up. To actually monitor you in your home, it's only police and agencies in a home under a threat of life. He actually punked Dave that he could actually do this. And let's just put it this way. You want to put it this way. He punked the drug dealers to coming down here and helping out. That he could actually get away with this. Do you know what happened to those drug dealers? Detroit boys, the Kingsmen, the ones from New York, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Texas, all of them. 800 of them got arrested. He punked them into helping out. He punked them into jail. And he punked Dave that he could actually do it. And Dave actually confessed that he hired that guy Pete on his own. And they're the ones running this big scam, getting everybody else arrested. And it is a big fraud scheme. I have a friend that used to work in the prosecutor's office. He said it's a fraud scheme where they kicked in your door. They probably did set up on camera when you were out. He said, and you know what? He said as if they could use it against you. Fourth Amendment over the house. Where you have bruises and hand marks and da-da-da-da, and you're throwing up and dizzy, they probably were drugging you, as if they could use it against you. And they probably did Photoshop that shower scene. He said, but they can't use it against you. They did it in the house. It's just like, if you're in jail, your attorney shows up. Do you know what happens to the police's cameras and voice recorders? All gets turned off. Why? You have a right to counsel with your attorney. They can't take you in jail while you're talking to them. See, where Dave said his girlfriend's rich and powerful and her family owns the police, you won't be able to withstand. I told him it's not a communist country. Nobody owns the police. We actually don't live in a communist country. These people are punking these people into helping out. They're punking them big time. Absolutely punking them. They were outside last night at my clients again at Turquoise. So I went outside, sat on the edge of my car, and it's like, you guys have lower than a 9th grade education, right? Because my car is bugged, and that retired judge with access to stuff like this sold it. $25 a pop, made millions selling FBI information. See, I'd like to know where the hell that agent went to. Yeah. See, I told you I called the hotline. And then when he called me back, they had me drugged up so bad I couldn't wake up. And then the third day I called Sarah, and then, we take the car down. And then he's up at that church. And he's telling on me before I even call him back. Dave's admitted to several people that he's seen him up there. And an officer verified he's seen an agent tell on me. And when I try to tell that agent that somebody told on me, he called me a liar. Why would you call me a liar? See, this is where his rudeness They said he stole the money on the first day, that he's nothing but a thief. And then when I tried to tell him about the guy that threatened to knife me, called me a liar, if I didn't know if there was a camera above a bench, I had seen on a show they ask you questions like that so you wouldn't have the answer, so they can get away with stuff. And screaming at me that put me in jail if I didn't say it, and that made me beg for my life, and list me informant for life, $5,000 a month, in diplomatic immunity for life for working this case. And then threatened me if I told someone. They said he stole the money on the first day, but he actually had an officer talk to Dave. That's the requirements of the Department of Justice. Police and agencies can only be in a home under a threat of life with statements. Okay? And there's nothing else. It's the right to privacy. President Nixon couldn't bug an office. So tonight, when I went out and I sat on the edge of my car, I said stuff, they all laughed. They did too. They all laughed. This is where it's got rich. They all laughed. It's like you got lower than a 9th grade education, right? You know, crack kills brain cells. Think they're sucking on a bong or whatever it is called too much? Huh? Getting a little bit too high with whatever you're doing? Because it's killing their brain cells. They don't have higher than a 9th grade education. Because, yeah, I was in Metzger's Park on, what was it, Saturday night or Sunday this last weekend. Kids were talking, and this is how bad it is. No one that Karen's Will's here today. No one will say a word. We all know that it was just her ex-husband, and that retired Judge Pete on his own doing it, or Pete on his own doing it. None of this is funny. And the FBI betrayed her. I go down Sunday, have dinner in New Philly. I go in, people said, the police said that they knew she'd be here. No, and that none of this is funny. No one's to say anything. Okay? And there were some Mennonites. Well, they sold the log, and even Mennonites have it. And when they found the tape of the rape, they didn't find any of this funny. Well, I'm sitting there eating dinner, and I'm telling this guy, about Dave having a threat on his life, and me calling that agent, make sure he's real. I, Googled the office where he said he was. And he was. When he threatened my granddaughter's life and my daughter-in-law's, and da-da-da-da-da. And then he opened that case. And I went to use the bathroom later on, and this little Mennonite child and the mother or grandmother, whoever she was with him, and said, we found out Karen's husband, ex-husband, was even threatening a baby's life. And the lady's like, yeah, I know, after everything she lived through. They didn't even pay her. Now, last year, I was out of town, and I was in my car, and some teenagers walked by. They were talking about the case. We even talked about it in school. I was a school discussion. A school discussion. The teacher said that agent didn't want to help her, and this is why all these bad things happened to her. He opened a real protected custody case, had an officer talk to Dave. Now, I told you I Googled him that time, and then I called the office again when I seen the guy and he took off through the side woods. They were setting up, but 3 weeks later they had the gunshot night, and they literally broke in the wrong house. They broke in the duplex next door. The old lady, who thank God was in the hospital, and I don't know what happened to those men staying on the other side of the duplex. They never came back. One guy showed up with a pitchfork in the middle of the night and in January and burned everything. So outside, it was like big as an ambulance, as big as fire. We had trash pickup. You can burn anytime we're out in the country, but they did it in the middle of the night, and then they didn't come back. Nobody else came back to the guy that was burned. See, that's where this whole thing. Pete's punked everybody. He has punked Dave that he would actually have the right to do this. He could have special permission. He doesn't, well, maybe he does have his little tutu on for being Tinkerbell. And he runs around with his little tights. And he has this little magic wand and little princess thing on his head. is little Tiara. I give you special permission. Here's some fairy dust. Maybe he has Peter Pan sitting next to him, and they get in the ship and fly off to Never Neverland, too. He punked Dave. He punked all those drug dealers to come down here and help run a big drug scam. They were human trafficking people out of this area. There's a Florida judge in jail. Had 100 people working with him in a human trafficking scam. They're all in jail. Pete's the Ohio contact, retired judge, and he had all those different drug dealers come to Ohio, run this big drug trading scam, human trafficking people out there. People's been killed, they've been taken, and they laugh in their face because they haven't been stopped. You know, outside my clients 2 nights ago, some guy showed up, and the people were harassing me. They stand like a street over and they yell stuff because they're pathetic. They're pathetic pieces of shit. Well, they are. They're nothing but a bunch of prostitutes. That's why they yell stuff, and drug dealers yell stuff out in public. Normal people don't act that way. With any kind of upbringing, they don't act that way. And he showed up. He said, I went to Dave, and I told him, are you telling people you hired some guy to tape her unaware before and do all those things yourself? You hired him to do that to her or something? You could go to jail for that. You better stop saying it. Yeah, he'd go to jail. Pete punked him that he could actually do it. He'll flat out lie to him. Ran a con on him. Took his money. He can't do that. Not go to jail. Get Dave in jail. Punk Dave so Dave can get arrested for it. That is having his wife stalked, beat, raped, human trafficked, sex trafficked videos. My God, he'll go to jail the rest of his life. And let's see, what else they yell. Dave, he was yelling all kinds of crazy stuff. He said Dave said he didn't think about it until he actually looked at what she wrote, and now he realizes what they've done. It's because he doesn't have me sitting there and saying, Dave, you're going to jail for that. Whenever he come up with something stupid. His voice of reasoning wasn't beside him anymore. Let's see. And then he yelled out, Dave did see that guy at that church, and he did say he talked to him. That is what's going on. See, that agent, even though he was rude to me, why would he call me a liar in the first place? If I told him I seen somebody said they were agent saying stuff that I called the FBI, my God, who was that? And I want the number of that church. See, that's reasonable. But to call me a flat-out liar, was it really him? People act like it was. And then, with him letting the Detroit boys as kidnapper go, he's still loose in this area and a serial killer. He already killed Lori's family member, and then took Marlisa's niece and a bunch of other people. And now everybody in this area knows about him because he stalks people. And he had a picture of him, at least walking by Huntington Bank. And the Pizza Hut lady getting paid to watch me, and the banker screaming at him. And then I had the Perry police reports of the other ones, and then a witness. I had all kinds of stuff. I had the 3 witnesses in the mall. I had people impersonating me at a job. I had phone call numbers for people to verify. I had all kinds of shit on them. So why would you even be rude to me? Made me beg for my life, then list me informant for life for working this case. And even when I tell someone, they'll always put it back as if it never happened. I can't be legally charged for anything again. And I have the $5,000 a month to live on. And he opened the case that day, and it'll keep building. When I move out, they would, I'll have that from then. And he left me up there. Yeah, I told you, I didn't believe it was real. I Googled the office he said he was at, and I found him for, when he was starting Dixie and the baby's life. And then when I seen that guy, and then I didn't hear anything else from him. He just left the case open and left. Oh, the 2 nights ago, the neighbors said when they pulled him, when they got done talking to those people, that Dave was actually dating one of the cops' daughters up there too. That's what was part of the problem. That's where, when I seen the guy, I told you I had to swerve around him, hit the garage door, open it, get in the house, shut it, and then I ran in and called that office. Well, that lady answered again. Said, well, she's seen that guy. You tell the police up there to get a hold of this. We're busy. House breaking loose. People are trying to shoot me, driving at stalkers. People are breaking and stabbing me with needles. And you're busy? I was a little busy myself. And you were busy? I can guarantee mine case blew the hell out of everything else. See if they actually pull the case. It's like the Amish man with the beards. Everything is on video in the protected custody case. And it goes into the main databases for protected custody. And like my friend that worked at the prosecutor's office, the FBI can never drop you. Once the government puts you in protected custody, they can't let you go. Because if they do, they can always hire someone else to kill you. And they can never, he even said they can never ask you to stay quiet. They don't have that authority. Just like the press did when an agent out of state tried to do it. They got an attorney to sue them, and they said if that agency ever backs any agent at telling anybody to stay quiet on anything, they need to shut them down. They don't have that kind of authority. It takes a judge to put a gag order on you, to take your freedom of speech. See, we live in an amazing country. We have so many freedoms. These people act like it's Nazi Germany, and it's not. They're just so, where I say crack kills brain cells, I think that they've done so many of their own drugs, and to the point that they're just living in Neverland in their own minds. And the only thing that has not stopped them is they have not been arrested. And I would like to know why, with everybody talking of Dave finally confessing that he hired some guy named Pete on his own to do this to me. And that, I went through where they photoshopped the shower scene, people admitting it, people telling the police, them admitting it outside with my car bugged, and that they had drugged me and told me to say it or whatever it is before. And that how far they're altered. I went through it in the last video. I get tired of repeating myself because these people are so messed up in their minds from their drugs, they don't listen. And when the other ones are newbies into a hate crime and a domestic terrorism group, they realize they're being manipulated, they leave. I told you they've got so pathetic, like they had prostitutes show up to make fun of me. That's how pathetic they are. But you want to put it this way, Dave punked Dave. Because he knew with being a retired judge, he could never be admissible. No one could look or listen. He took his money and did all that shit to his wife. And then brought his drug dealers, then the human trafficking thing, let him run wild down here. And because of that agent's incompetency. And he stole all that money. That or it's sitting in an account somewhere. They still owe it to me. And I told the Department of Justice, see, I used to work in a bank. And I work for a loan company. I could put your social in. I would come up with everybody you ever talked to, the account, everything. And money is electronic now. When it comes to the government switching it over, they'd have an account where everything is touched and went. I'm not stupid. May not be the smartest cookie in the bunch, but I'm not stupid. And this is where they call these people idiot people and low IQ people for helping out. Are they realize he's punking them too? This is a big scam. Then one guy I went out to eat with, he said that it's a big drug scam. And that's where my friend that was at the prosecutor's office said it's a big fraud scheme. They're punking people. They even punked the drug dealers to come down here and help out. They punked them. And it cost them 800 of them to get arrested. And he punked Dave. Now how many, yeah. And if you don't think that they realize that, you're wrong. Because he set everybody up. He could never do this. And like I said, they can't look at stalking tapes. You know, this guy's trying to have his wife killed. And she had died in 4 attempts. Offers you money to stalk her. What kind of pieces of shit would take that money? Drug dealer, human trafficker, murderer, rapist. Nobody else with any integrity, they would have set him up and got the police to arrest him. Nobody drugs anybody. But drug dealers are called serial killers. Huh? Human traffickers, rapists? That's about it. It's illegal to drug somebody. You can go to jail the rest of your life. Drug them up, beat them, rape them, stalk them in their home. Huh? And then sell videos of them in bed, Photoshop shower scenes thinking they're funny because they're a bunch of drug addicts. Huh? And they run around. Well, they punked them. They even told them they would have put a shower seat in the other room. And they told them, they drugged me and told me to say they're fake sodium pentothal reports. Eric's a prime example, too. They were talking a couple nights ago outside this other client's house. We found out they drugged up somebody else and told them to say something they didn't do. They said with the people that were walking around me, the drugs they're using, they could control somebody, everything they said and did. And they can. They had been calling Altman Hospital like March 13, 21, pretending they're Eric. And then Dr. Karp's office pretending he's Steve. And the police departments were looking for Steve and Eric for stalking me. And with Dave saying he didn't know why that man confessed to anything. He had nothing to do with it. Because on November 18, 22, they got Eric high. And he comes in, all the tapes before were me and not her. It was my idea to come up there. My idea to say it. My idea to do it. For all these people to turn on her. Ha, 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 ha. Full confession. Then I did November 24, 22 at Mercy Medical. Eric making fun of everyone for falling for this. And then they were talking about that agent that bullied me into saying I was lying. But I wasn't. I can't please. Everybody knew I wasn't. That's where the whole thing of it is. I wasn't lying. And they can't even insinuate you are lying. They have to take your statement and follow through if they believe you or not. Or it's obstruction to justice, tampering with evidence, and tampering with witnesses. It's a battery law. Department of Justice 1729. He bought 5 to 20 years for that. And these people are looking at life in federal. They don't realize what they're confessing to. People have been complaining since 19 and 20 that they were confessing to heinous crimes and to kidnapping me. They are. Since the beginning of the case in 18, around investigators and police, they had their sodium pentothal reports where they're breaking and stabbing with needles, date rape drugs. So I'd be sleepwalking. And I'd be a mindless zombie they could control for 4 to 6 hours and do and say what I'm told with no memories. I'd wake up with black and blue marks, a cut on my leg, hand marks, bruises everywhere, throwing up, heart racing, short of breath. Got treated for the doctor for it too. And a really bad headache and a really bad personal infection that wouldn't go away because they were human trafficking me. You know why they think that's funny? Because they're human traffickers. Drug traders out of this area. That retired judge is punking every one of them to help out in this, and they're all getting arrested for it. Huh? He's punked David. That he could actually do this and ran this big, huge scam. He thinks he's funny. He really isn't. And where the hell did that agent go? He just left the case open and let it run. Even in front of Becky, the laundromat lady, February 7th, 22, we were at Giant Eagle, and they were outside. And they said, Will did this to her. I said, look, Will did little with the case and left it on his desk. He left me up there to die. They said he took the money the first day. And he's nothing but a thief. Then if he's just a thief, they need to go back through all of his cases and find out how many other informants he sold out to the bastards to kill and took the money and ran. Because there's a Department of Justice S641, any money meant for one person, it cannot be withheld or misdirected, or it's a severe act of theft, embezzlement. Over $1,000, it can be up to 30 years in jail. And he stole over $300,000 from my case over 4.5 years. I'm gonna go ahead and upload this.